trial chamber floated in space, orbiting a dead star. Inside, it was silent. Cold lights lit the massive hall. Rows of alien judges sat high above. Each one represented a different world, a different species. Some had wings. Others had scales. A few had no eyes at all. But they were all staring at one thing, at one man. He stood alone in the center. No guards, no chains. Just a man in a black uniform, hands behind his back, staring up at the aliens. He looked calm, almost bored. His name was Commander Eli Voss, the last human. The silver-skinned alien leaned forward. Her voice was smooth, but sharp like glass. You were the leader of the Terran resistance? You commanded the fleets that destroyed 13 worlds? Do you deny this? Voss didn't move. He didn't blink. No, murmurs spread through the chamber. A jelly-like being hissed in surprise. A scaled creature growled softly. They had expected lies, or excuses. But this man admitted everything. Another judge spoke. This one had wires coming out of its head, and its voice echoed like a machine. Why did your people not accept peace? The Galactic Union offered you a place. We offered trade, protection. Voss finally smiled, but it was a sad smile. Quiet. 1. You offered peace, and then you took our children. The room went silent. One of the judges shifted uncomfortably. Another adjusted a translation device. We do not understand, said a furry, long-necked alien. Your children were enrolled in the cognitive study program. It was an honor. Voss's smile disappeared. They were kidnapped, drugged, put into stasis, tested like lab animals. A video screen lit up beside him, showed footage leaked years ago from a crashed Union vessel. Human children, asleep in clear pods, machines scanning their brains. One child twitched, another cried. Gasps echoed through the hall. The younger aliens looked away, others watched with cold eyes. These are lies, one judge barked. They had no knowledge of this. Voss looked up at them, calm again. He didn't care to know. The lead judge, a massive blue being with 4 arms, slammed his gavel. This trial is not about your accusations. It is about your crimes. Billions died, and you led the attacks. So we ask again, why? Voss looked around, out at all the alien faces. Then finally, he stepped forward. Just one step. His voice dropped to a whisper, but everyone heard it, because we warned you, and you laughed. The court waited. No one interrupted. Voss kept speaking. At first, we believed you. We thought we were joining something good. The Galactic Union offered us medicine, starships, knowledge. We were grateful. We sent diplomats. We opened our homes. He paused, and then the disappearances started. At first, it was quiet. A few scientists, some children. The Union said it was accidents. But our people, we feel things, cry. When something's wrong, he looked at them again. He thought that was weakness. That's where you made your mistake. A deep voice cut through the silence. It belonged to a judge made of living stone. You are a violent race. Too emotional. Too dangerous. We tried to help you evolve. Voss chuckled. You tried to erase what made us human. The stone judge frowned. We needed to understand your emotions. You act without logic, without control. The experiments were necessary. You should have asked, Voss replied. He tapped the side of his wrist. Another video played. A message sent to the Union Council 3 years before the war began. A human diplomat stood before alien leaders demanding answers about the missing children. His voice cracked as he begged them to stop. The aliens had laughed. One of the judges shifted again. That was a misunderstanding. No, Voss said. It was the warning. You ignored it, so we cried, and then we prepared. The lead judge narrowed its glowing eyes. Prepared for what? Voss stepped forward again. His boots echoed. In the silent hall, for war. The chamber burst into noise. Voices in hundreds of languages. Some shouted in anger, others in fear, a few in shame. The gavel slammed again and again. Order, the lead judge bellowed. Slowly, the room quieted. Voss remained still. "You had no right," said a thin-winged creature. "You destroyed innocent worlds. You unleashed AI weapons on planets that had never harmed Earth." Voss nodded slowly. "Yes, we did. And every one of them was chosen carefully. Each one was linked to the program that hurt our people. We ended what you started." The room fell quiet again. One young alien judge, a small, pale-skinned creature, spoke up for the first time. "But why did you cry?" Everyone turned toward him. "In all the recordings we found," the young alien continued, "your people cried before battle. Some even cried during it. No other species does that. Why?" Voss didn't answer right away. Instead, he reached into his coat and pulled out a small object. It was a necklace. Simple silver chain with a charm shaped like a star. He held it up. "This belonged to my niece. Her name was Lila. She was 6 when they took her." Placed it on the floor. "She loved music. She loved painting the stars on the ceiling. She was never violent, never angry, but she cried easily. That's what made her strong." Voss looked up at the young judge. "Cry because we feel, because we care, because pain matters. You saw it as weakness, but it's why we fought. Why we won." Silence. Long, heavy silence. The lead judge finally spoke again. "You will be sentenced. Likely to exile, possibly termination. Do you accept this?" Voss didn't even blink. "I do." "Then why speak at all? Why tell this story?" He picked up the necklace again, held it tightly. "Because I want you to remember. The next time you see a tear on a human's face, you'll know what's coming." The gavel slammed. The trial was over. But in the minds of every alien in that room, one truth remained. They had never seen a human cry, not until it was too late. The sky above Earth was calm that day, blue wide and filled with soft clouds. It was the day the Galactic Union's ambassador arrived. The landing was quiet, no weapons, just a sleek silver ship shaped like a teardrop. It touched. Down on the United Nations landing pad in Geneva, news drones hovered above. World leaders stood ready. From the ship stepped a tall being. Smooth skin, light purple, no mouth, but eyes full of light. She wore robes that shimmered like water. This was Ambassador Zelenary, Speaker of the Galactic Union's Core Council. "We come in peace," she said, though her mouth didn't move. The words echoed in the minds of every listener. Earth listened, and Earth believed her. The Union gave Earth technology, clean energy, faster ships, instant communication, and advanced medicine. In return, Earth joined the Union as a junior member. Earth sent scientists, doctors, explorers, even children selected for cultural exchange programs. Earth called it a golden age, but Commander Eli Voss didn't trust it. Back then, he was just a retired fleet captain. He had served in Earth's first long-range exploration fleet, had seen strange things in deep space. He'd seen how the Union acted toward smaller, weaker species, friendly, polite, smiling, but always watching. Always taking notes. Then came Outpost Selene-3. Selene-3 was a small Earth colony orbiting a blue giant. Peaceful, quiet, mostly used for terraforming studies. But one day the outpost stopped responding. Earth thought it was a system fault. Team was sent to investigate. They found the station empty. No signs of struggle. No blood. No bodies, just one message, burned into the wall with a plasma cutter. "They are taking the children." That same week, 3 Earth diplomats disappeared on a Union transport ship. The Union claimed it was a pirate attack, but the sensor logs were wiped. The black box was missing. Earth requested an investigation. The Union delayed and delayed and delayed. Then came the footage. It was a glitch, a lucky error. A Union cargo ship crashed into an asteroid belt during a storm. A rescue drone recorded everything. The ship was damaged, its cargo hold exposed. Inside rows of stasis pods, children, human children, all in white suits, lost sleep. Wires connected to their heads, Machines humming, measuring something, emotion. The footage was leaked. Not by Earth, but by someone inside the Union. No one ever found out who. But once it reached Earth's networks, the world changed. People took to the streets. Parents demanded answers. News networks played the footage on repeat. Politicians froze. The Union denied everything. It is fake, they said. Fabrication. Misunderstanding. But they refused to return the children. Eli Voss was called back into service. He sat in a dark room beneath a mountain bunker as leaders of Earth spoke in quiet panic. "We trusted them," the president whispered. "We gave them our children." Said a general, "We need to act," Voss said. Calm, cold, certain. But Earth was not ready for war. Not yet. So Earth sent one last message, one last chance. A young diplomat named Adrian Kwan, barely 30 years old, was sent to the Union Core Council. Brave, smart, kind, he believed peace could still be saved. He stood before 20 alien leaders in a massive chamber of glass and gold. Cameras watched from every angle. He spoke with hope in his voice. "You gave us knowledge. We gave you trust. But now we see the cost," Adrian said. "We ask no, we beg you. Return our children. Let us walk away from this in peace." He paused. "And if you don't, we will come for them." The hall fell silent. Then a laugh, dry and clicking. One of the council members, a reptilian being with gold-plated fangs, grinned. "You humans cry so easily," it said. "It is your design flaw." Laughter followed. Polite from some, loud from others. Adrian's hands trembled, but he stood tall. One tear rolled down his cheek, just one. He left without another word. Back on Earth, the footage was broadcast live. The moment the galaxy laughed at a crying human, something shifted. Not in anger, not in rage, but in pain. Pain too deep to shout about. Pain that simmered in silence. Earth's streets went quiet. The protests stopped. Factories turned off their lights. Cities slowed. Even the news went silent. For 2 days, Earth said nothing. Then, without warning, the lights under Antarctica came on. No one outside Earth knew what those lights meant. Not the Union, not its spies, but Earth knew. Those lights hadn't shone in over 70 years. They were built by black-budget programs, carried by ships Earth never declared, powered by ideas Earth never shared. The Omega Vaults were opening in hidden hangars across the moon.
Massive ships.
Stirred. They had no names, just codes. Silent weapons, Project Aftercree, Protocol Grievance, Engine Fury Type 9. Humanity wasn't just planning war, it had prepared for one. Eli Voss stood on the bridge of an old battleship, watching the stars. Engineers reported in hushed tones. Pilots moved with purpose. No music played. No cheers, only silence. Behind him on the main screen was a list of coordinates, one for each colony that had lost a child, one for each Union world tied to the cognitive study program. And at the bottom, Core Council Prime, as the ship prepared to launch. An officer stepped beside Voss. "Sir," she said, "are we really doing this?" Voss didn't answer right away. He looked down at a small charm hanging from his wrist. "A star-dotted had once belonged to Lila. My niece is still out there," he said quietly. "So are others. They took our hearts. I will show them what's inside." The engines lit, the fleet rose, and far away in the core of the galaxy, the Union still laughed. They didn't know the countdown had already begun, because they had never seen human Kronot until it was too late. It had been 13 days since Earth went quiet. No messages, no trade signals, no diplomats, not even routine patrols in shared sectors. The Galactic Union called it a technical failure. Some believed Earth was in panic. Others said that humans had finally broken. But Commander Eli Voss knew better. Earth wasn't broken. Earth was waiting. Inside a hollowed-out asteroid deep in the Sol system, Voss stood in a command center with no windows, only screens. Another showed Earth, another showed a star map. Dozens of red dots, blinked targets, a quiet hum filled the room. Machines were waking. Some had been off for nearly a century. Others had never been tested at all. Beside Voss stood Admiral Yelena Merrick, head of Earth's Shadow Division. "We've completed the scan," she said. 79 Union facilities are confirmed to be linked to the child experiments. 23 are still active. Voss didn't blink. "Then we start there." He walked across the room and pressed his hand to a glass case. Inside, a small device glowed softly, a memory crystal. It held the last full neural recording of his niece, Allah, before she was taken. Her voice was on it, her laugh, and the sound of her crying in the dark. Voss turned away. Any reply from the Core Council? "None," Yelena said. "But they're listening. We've intercepted their spy probes." Voss smiled slightly. "Good. Let them listen." Far away in Union space, panic had begun to spread. It started with Urax 9, a small research moon run by the Union. One night, the entire station went dark. The next day, a Union science vessel arrived. They found the station empty. No bodies. No signs of struggle. Only a single message burned into the wall with plasma. "We warned you with words. Now we warn you with silence." The same happened at Veltarak, a memory extraction lab hidden inside a gas giant. Then at Station Zephyrinine, a brainwave manipulation center disguised as a weather array. Then again, and again, each time, the attackers left no trace, only silence. And that message, Union news networks began to spin it. Rogue elements, they claimed. Radical human terrorists. The Core Council issued a statement. Earth's silence is not a threat. It is weakness. But not everyone believed that. On the border worlds, traders reported seeing strange ships, singular, black, with no identification codes, silent, watching. Some claimed they vanished when approached. Others said they interfered with electronics. One Union patrol sent a warning message. "We are being scanned." No response. "Who are TH?"
Oh.
Then nothing. The ship vanished. In the inner Union territories, fear turned to anger. The Council ordered sanctions. All trade to Earth was suspended. Human settlements were cut off. Surveillance increased. But Earth still said, "It's nothing." No protests. No demands. Only silence. Inside the command center beneath Mars, Voss met with Earth's defense circle only 5. People, the ones who had planned this day for decades. "They will come to us soon," said Minister Goro Tanaka, tapping a display. "The Union cannot accept silence. They need to be obeyed." Voss nodded. "That's when we begin the reckoning." What? Tall woman Colonel Idris Miles looked up. "Are we really going through with after-creep protocol?" Voss turned to her. "You saw the footage. You saw the experiments." She nodded. "I saw them." Voss's voice lowered. "Then you know why we don't stop." That night in orbit over the moon, the first Earth stealth fleet launched. 7 ships, no beacons, no signals, coated in a motion-dampening alloy. Designed to fool Union sensors, their mission, retrieve live data from Union AI cores linked to the experiments. Find out who ordered the child extractions. Bring back names. Inside one of the stealth ships, Captain Lena Cruz stared at the photo taped to her console.
Ow.
Her son Mateo, 9 years old when he was taken.
Ow.
She hadn't seen him in 12 years. He would be 21 now if he was still alive. She reached into her suit and pulled out a recording chip. Pressed play. A voice echoed quietly her son's laughter. A small moment from a birthday party long ago. Her eyes stayed dry, but her hand shook. "Captain," her pilot said, "we're approaching the Union relay station." Cruz sat up. "Engage." Blackout. Begin silent insertion. They entered orbit in total darkness. Meanwhile, back in the Union capital of Pharaoh's Prime, the Core Council met in secret. The silence from Earth had grown too loud. "We underestimated them," said a six-side. "Judge, they are more organized than we thought." "Their emotions make them irrational," said another. "This behavior proves it." "No," said a third, older voice. "It proves the opposite. This silence is not chaos. It is order." A moment passed. Then the leader, Supreme Coordinator Helrich, spoke. Then let us remind them who controls this galaxy. He raised a hand. Mobilize fleet command. Enter soul space. Force a response. He smiled. If they won't talk, we'll make them scream. But Helrix didn't know the moment the Union fleet crossed into the Sol system. Every human satellite turned to watch. Every hidden cannon came online. Every cloaked station aimed. Inside, the moon's crust. The final choir protocol activated a system built to hijack Union command signals and bounce them back as false orders. And beneath the surface of Earth's oceans, massive spheres began to rise. They weren't ships. They were emotion cores. Weapons that didn't fire bullets but raw, concentrated emotion. Grief, rage, sorrow. Projected directly into enemy minds. The emotion the Union had studied. The emotion they didn't. Understand the same emotion they had stolen from Earth's children. Earth didn't fire the first shot. It didn't have to, because the Union was already bleeding from fear, from guilt, from silence, and still no message came, no warning, just stars and shadows and the memory of tears. They had never seen a human cry, but now they would learn what silence meant. They crossed the line at 0400 hours, the first core fleet of the Galactic Union. 73 warships strong passed into the Sol system without warning. Each ship was a floating city, armed with weapons that could destroy planets. Flagship Oryx Eternum led the charge, its golden hull shining like a second sun. Their mission was simple: force Earth to surrender. No diplomacy, no messages, just a show of strength. Supreme Commander Tyrex Vol stood at the bridge of the Oryx, his claws tapping the control railing. Behind him, screens glowed with real-time data, gravity maps, radiation scans, sensor feeds. Earth was still distant, a pale blue dot on the display. Still no response from their homeworld? He asked. None, replied the comms officer. They're ignoring every hail. Vol narrowed his eyes. Let's see if they ignore this. He gave the order. A subfleet broke formation and moved toward Mars, home to Earth's largest colony. The plan was to take control of its orbital. Ports fast, clean, no blood. But as the fleet approached Mars, something strange happened. The stars behind the ships began to vanish. Not all at once. One by one. Blink, blink, blink. Gone. VOHL looked up from the screen. Is that a system error? Negative, said the sensor tech, voice tight. Not blinking out there being blocked. What's blocking stars in all directions? Someone whispered. No one had an answer, until the sensors picked up movement from behind every asteroid. Every crater, every dark corner of Sol space. Something was coming. Dozens, hundreds, human ships, but they didn't look like any Union had. Seen before? No sleek curves. No bright colors. These were shaped like spears, black as shadow, bristling with jagged armor. Many had no name, no ID code. Some were old Earth vessels, but rebuilt, hardened, modified, monstrous. Where did they get this many ships? Shouted a Union officer. Before anyone could answer, the human fleet activated jamming protocols. The Union screens flickered. Communications went dead. Navigation froze. Artificial intelligence started glitching. EMP wave. A technician yelled, "No," the sensor officer whispered. "It's not electromagnetic. It's something else." Then came the first strike. It wasn't a missile. It wasn't a beam. It was a scream. Every Union ship within range heard it. Psychic pulse, loud and full of pain. Not a sound, but a feeling. Grief, fury, the deep, empty sadness of a parent who lost their child. The same emotion they had stolen. Commanders collapsed. Pilots screamed. Ships drifted as their AI cores short-circuited under emotional overload. Humanity had learned how to weaponize emotion and turned it into a weapon, called the final choir. Vol clutched his head, heart racing. Shut it out. Counter it. But the systems weren't responding. Auto defense failed. Targeting AI froze. And then the human ships opened fire. not from the front, from below, where Saul's hidden magnetic trenches had masked their approach. The first Union dreadnought split in half. The second lost its engines. In a single shot, the third never got a chance to scream. Within 5 minutes, 12 Union warships were gone. No survivors. The rest tried to retreat. They couldn't. The stars were gone because Earth had surrounded them, not with numbers but with calculation. Every human vessel had waited in total silence. Deep inside Saul's ice belts, gas clouds and Sauls, and false debris fields. Ships that had gone silent for decades suddenly awoke in bushes, planned for a war no one thought would come. VOHL gave the order. Full retreat, regroup at the Kuiper boundary. The fleet tried to turn. That's when the second wave hit. Black Spear's human kinetic torpedoes with no energy signal. Launched from automated rail platforms, hidden in the asteroid belt, they didn't explode. They just punched through holes like they were paper. Each one carried a message, burned into its shell. You laughed. One torpedo tore through the command deck of the Corn Dominion, killing all crew. Another smashed the hangar of the Valix, venting thousands into space. The rest kept coming silent, deadly, untraceable, back on Earth. In a dark room beneath the Andes Mountains, Commander Eli Voss watched it all. He didn't speak, didn't celebrate. He simply nodded. Admiral Yelena Merrick stepped beside him. We have them pinned. Shall we deliver the message now? Voss shook his head. Not yet. But they still think this is about territory, about fear, about revenge. He pointed to the screen. One Union ship, the Krexial Scribe, was drifting, its engines dead. Its cum still open. Patch me through one ship only. The room fell silent. The signal opened. On the other end, a terrified Union officer stared at the screen. Voss leaned in. His voice was calm. This is Commander Eli Voss of Earth. Tell your council this. We asked for our children. You laughed. You took from us, and now we will take from you. He paused. No planets, no cities, just your lies. He leaned closer, and when you finally beg for mercy, remember, it's not hate we'll show you. It's grief. Because we loved what you destroyed. Then he ended the transmission. Back in Union space, that officer repeated the message, over and over and over, until it echoed through every corridor of the Corps Council Palace. And for the first time in generations, the Galactic Union felt real. Fear, because they didn't understand how Earth had built these weapons, or how the silence had hidden them. But most of all, because they had never seen a human cry. Now they had, and the stars were starting to cry with them. The Krexial Scribe drifted into Union space 3 days after the battle in Seoul. No engines, no lights, no crew. It had once been a proud Union intelligence cruiser equipped with deep-range scanners, a memory vault, and a full crew of 90 officers. Now, it was silent, empty, and it had returned on its own, pulled by its emergency autopilot. The ship docked itself at Helion Station, the Union's central relay hub near the core worlds. Medical teams rushed in, expecting wounded. Security teams followed, armed and alert. They found none, no bodies, no signs of a fight. Only one thing remained on the bridge. Resting on the captain's chair, a small, sealed box with a handwritten note taped to it. This is not war. This is remembrance. Earth Commander Tirvalek of the Union Navy stood in silence as his team scanned the ship. The internal logs had been wiped. Memory cores scrambled. But one file remained in the emergency broadcast system. It was a video 1 hour long. Locked with a human encryption that Union AI couldn't crack. They tried everything, and then, without warning, the video played on its own. Across every screen in Helion Station, the video began with a girl, human, maybe 9 or 10 years old, sitting in a chair, speaking softly. Her name was Leela Voss. She talked about her favorite toy, her pet cat. Her mother's cooking, then the lights dimmed, and the screen showed something else: the inside of a Union laboratory. Straps on a table, tools, bright white lights, monitors. Lila's voice continued in the background, but now her tone changed. They said I could go home if I stayed very still, but it hurt. A lot. I asked for my dad. I asked for my uncle. They said he was gone, but I knew he wasn't. The images blurred. Cameras caught flashes of machines cutting into children's heads. Tubes. Inserted. Neural maps stolen. Some footage had Union. Officers laughing. Others were taking notes, treating the children like lab rats. The station went quiet. Not a word was spoken. Even the veteran officers, those who'd fought hundreds of battles, turned pale. The video ended with Lila whispering something. Tell them I didn't cry. Not even once. Because Uncle Eli said, they don't deserve to see that. Then the screen went black. For a long time, no one moved. Then Tirvalek turned to his aide. Make sure the council sees this, but, sir, it's propaganda. Could be fake? Do you think that girl was fake? Valek's voice shook. She looked into the camera. She looked at us. He paused, and I saw guilt in her eyes. Guilt. For what we did. That same day, on the Core Council's Capital World, the video spread like fire. It played on the streets, on walls, on public transport, on personal devices. Now, the encryption had embedded itself in every system, and it couldn't be deleted. No. One claimed responsibility, but everyone knew who had done it. Earth. And with that video, something shifted. For decades, the Union had believed humans were dangerous because of their rage. Now they realized it was their grief that made them unstoppable. In a small border colony called Jura 3, a Union child asked her mother, "Why are people crying in the streets?" The mother didn't answer, because she was crying too. Back in Seoul, Commander Eli Voss stared at the star map. The Union fleets hadn't sent reinforcements, not yet, but they would, and when they did, Earth would not greet them with missiles. They would greet them with truth. The next part of the plan was already moving. From deep space, a group of human couriers trained in stealth were carrying memory crystals toward key Union worlds. Not to destroy, not to attack, to deliver evidence. Every experiment, every lab, every signed order, every hidden file, and every name. Meanwhile, humanity's emotion weapons called echo orbs were being placed across major systems, hidden behind comets. Disguised as Union satellites, they didn't fire unless triggered. But when they did, they didn't cause explosions. They caused breakdowns, panic, terror, regret. Each orb released raw, unfiltered memory data from Earth's stolen children, despair pumped directly into enemy minds, and Earth had thousands of them, stored ready. A message appeared on the Union's Central Defense Network that night. No one had hacked it, no one even saw it enter, but it was there, just 6 words. You opened their minds. We opened yours. The Core Council held an emergency meeting. Dozens of species, hundreds of voices, shouting, panicking. Some demanded war, some demanded peace. But one thing was clear. It lost control, not just of Earth, but of the story. They could no longer control the narrative, the lies. The cover-ups. Earth didn't need to fight with its weapons anymore. They were fighting with memory, with truth, with the tears the Union ignored. And slowly, planet by planet, citizens began to turn. Union officers resigned. Border worlds refused to send ships. Even some Union scientists spoke out, releasing hidden documents to confirm the truth. Earth never asked for forgiveness. They never asked for pity. They only asked for one thing. Remember what you did, and know why we stopped smiling? As the Krexial scribe floated in orbit over Helion Station, its engines dead, its bridge cold, and its crew gone, it became a symbol not of war, but of what happens when silence speaks louder than a scream. And the galaxy, for the first time in generations, was finally listening. The Core Council Hall had never been this quiet. Over 300 species filled the great chamber on the planet Varelion, seat of the Galactic Union. Delegates shifted in their seats. Some blinked their many eyes. Others tapped nervous claws. None spoke. They were waiting. At the front of the chamber stood a long black table, shaped like a blade. Empty. Beside it, a single chair. Also empty. The treaty sat there, the peace and acknowledgement accords. Written in glowing blue script across. A projection slab. It had only 3 demands. A full admission of the Union's experiments on human children. Public broadcast of Earth's evidence across all systems. A formal apology, signed by every major species leader. If signed, Earth would agree to no further strikes, no more weaponized grief, no more emotional disruption. But if it was rejected, humanity had promised silence would follow, in silence. The galaxy had learned it was no longer safety. It was a warning. Commander Eli Voss was late deliberately. He walked into the chamber 40 minutes after the start. Slow, calm, wearing a simple black coat, no armor, no weapons, no medals. Behind him walked 3 humans, a diplomat, a woman with silver implants on her temples, and a boy no older than 12. The child carried the treaty. They walked in silence. Every eye followed them. Every translator device tried to decode the boy's heartbeat. Voss sat down without a word. No bow. No greeting. He waited. Finally, Chancellor Veracrune, snake-like being with 3 arms, spoke. We have considered your proposal. Many delegates are troubled. The truth you presented, if accurate, changes many things. Voss raised an eyebrow. If accurate. A flicker of tension rippled through the hall. We need time, another delegate added. The people are scared. There is unrest. Releasing the footage now could cause revolts. That's the point, Voss said, calm but cold. The boy beside him pulled something from his satchel, a black stone, about the size of a fist. Featureless. Voss placed it on the table. Instantly, the lights dimmed. Delegates clutched their heads. Pain, sadness, lost. It lasted only 3 seconds. But every being in the room had tears in their eyes. Even the ones who didn't have tear glands felt the sorrow in their bones. Voss tapped the stone once. It stopped. That was one memory, he said quietly. Of one child, we have thousands. The treaty is not signed within 24 hours. We will release them system-wide. A thick silence followed. Veracrune's voice cracked. You would destroy the minds of innocents. Voss didn't blink. You already did. One delegate shouted, this is emotional blackmail. Another screamed, this is a crime. Voss finally stood. He walked slowly to the front of the hall and placed something on the central podium, a data crystal, one of the originals, taken from the Union labs. He pressed a button. His hologram lit up. It showed a table, a child, needles. Union scientists laughing. This time there was sound. Let's see what a human fear spike looks like. If we push her just a bit further, maybe the gland will open. She's still not crying. Curious. The chamber went dead still. No. One looked away. Not even the most hardened generals. Voss let the recording play for 10 full seconds, then ended it. He didn't say anything else. He just left the crystal on the podium, walked back to his seat, and folded his arms. The silence that followed was longer than the session itself. That evening, Chancellor Veracrune called for a secret vote. Only 112 out of 300 voted yes. But when the chamber doors opened to leave, one of the black grief stones activated again. Not from Voss, from the boy. He hadn't touched it. It activated by itself. The delegates fell to their knees. Some screamed. Some whispered apologies. Others tried to run. It lasted 12 seconds. When it ended, over 24 delegates resigned on the spot. The rest returned and changed their votes. The next morning, the treaty was signed. Eli Voss didn't smile. He didn't offer thanks. He simply said, this is not peace. This is a pause. You made us feel powerless. Now you understand what that feels like. He turned to the boy. Burn the final words into the treaty. The boy nodded, then stepped forward and pressed his hand against the slab. Letters burned. Across the bottom of the text, we never wanted vengeance. We wanted truth. You gave us neither, so we took both. The boy turned and left with Voss. No fanfare, no anthem, just silence. And that silence followed the delegates all the way home. The world of Yarnaks, statues of Union scientists, were torn down. On Teleroom, emotional support clinics overflowed. On Gornari Prime, young soldiers refused orders to fight humans. Entire systems began to reconsider their history. Humanity had done the impossible. It had broken the galaxy's memory and rewritten it in grief. Back on Earth, under the ruins of an old moon base, Commander Voss sat alone, watching the stars. Admiral Marek approached. They signed it. I know. Should we cancel the next phase? Voss shook his head. No, let them believe the pain is over. Let them sleep. He looked at the stars again. There are still labs out there. Still children we haven't found. He stood, and when we do, the grief will return. Because in the end, the galaxy didn't fear human weapons. It feared the day humans cried and remembered why. It had been 2 weeks since the treaty was signed. The galaxy seemed calm. No grief bombs, no hacked broadcasts, no retaliations from Earth. The Union's media called it a return to order. But on the outer edges of space, something was wrong. Patrol ships vanished. Mining colonies went dark, and whispers grew louder. Not all Union labs had been shut down, Commander Eli Voss already knew. His agents had mapped them weeks ago. 7 hidden facilities, each in violation of the treaty, each still experimenting. On human captives, he had given the Union time, a chance, a warning. They signed the treaty, but they didn't mean it, and now Earth was done with diplomacy. Aboard the stealth dreadnought Warden's Fall, Voss stood in a dark chamber with his strike team. They were the Black Echo, Earth's elite grief operatives, trained not in weapons, but in memory warfare. They didn't need bombs. They carried emotion triggers, mind thorns, and soul burst steck that targeted the emotional centers of enemy minds, non-lethal, but devastating. Behind Voss, on the wall, floated holograms of the 7 facilities. One was orbiting a dying star, another disguised as a research station on a barren moon. 2 were buried in asteroid fields, and the last codenamed Site Vesper was built on a moving station hidden between solar flares. Each one had a name. Each one had children inside, and Earth was going to free them. Not with words, not with another treaty, but with the one thing the Union couldn't process: human pain with purpose. The first strike hit Facility Delta. In the Sulcan Rift, it was over in 5 minutes. The guards never even fired. As soon as the grief pulse swept through the halls, they dropped their weapons. Most cried. Others fell to their knees and whispered apologies they didn't understand. The Black Echo moved through like shadows, freeing the children one by one. One boy asked, "Are you real?" Voss knelt. It came too late, but we're here now. Second facility detonated from within, not by Earth, but by one of the Union's own researchers who saw the attack on Delta and realized what was coming. She left a message. I helped you before. I'll never forgive myself. But I won't. Let them do it again. Her name was Dr. Neva Leorin. She had been on the Union's Ethics Committee for 10 years. Earth had never contacted her. She switched sides on her own. One by one, the facilities fell. And still the Union stayed silent. No ships moved, no declarations of war, no military response. Because deep inside, they knew if they fought back, Earth would unleash everything, all the memories, all the pain, all the faces. Billions of beings across the galaxy were still recovering from the first wave of grief. Another one would break them. So instead, the Union waited, hoping Earth would stop. But Eli Voss had one final target: Site Vesper, the station. Orbited a sun so unstable, not even probes could remain near it for long. It phased between gravitational shadows, appearing only once every 17 hours in a clear location. Vesper didn't just house children. It stored neural blueprints, the full recorded personalities and minds of human subjects. They weren't testing bodies anymore. They were trying to digitally Copysouls.earth had sent warnings. Vesper ignored them. Now it was time. Voss's dreadnought jumped into the flare path during the exact 9-minute window. The station would be visible. Sensors flared. Shields screamed. But they held. The ship launched its team directly into. Vesper sighed, using grief piercers, needles filled with concentrated human sorrow. They didn't explode. They made the walls weep. Literally, the alloy destabilized under emotional strain, corroding as if mourning itself had weight. Black echo stormed in. Inside, the station was pure chaos. Security bots fired blindly, screaming nonsense. Lights flickered red. But Voss wasn't after guards. He was after the memory vault. They reached it in 7 minutes. Inside were rows of containment pods, holograms of human children, looping endlessly, smiling, crying, breaking, each labeled, each. Stolen.1 pod glitched mid-loop. The image of a girl blinked, turned and whispered, "Uncle." Voss's heart froze. It was Lila, but older, not real. It's just a digital imprint, a ghost of her. But it looked at him, as if waiting. He placed a memory thorn into the console and whispered, "I'm sorry I couldn't find you sooner." The console glowed, then shattered. Every pod melted, but not in fire. In light, earth. It didn't erase the stolen souls. They freed them, one by one. The digital faces faded, whispering thanks, smiles, tears, and finally, peace. When the station's AI finally regained control, it found a single message burned into the mainframe. You stole their minds. We returned their humanity. The galaxy will never forget their names again. Voss and his team evacuated just before the flare storm consumed the station. There was no cheering, no songs, no celebration, only silence. But it was not the same silence as before. This silence meant closure for the children, for Earth, for the ghosts of grief now laid to rest. Back on Earth, Voss stood alone in a garden planted near the ruins of the old Pacific War Dome. Trees grew around statues. Hitch, one carrying the name of a stolen child. He added one more plaque that night. Lila Voss, she didn't cry. She made the stars cry for her. And as dawn rose over a quiet Earth, the galaxy held its breath, because now they knew Earth would not cry again. Not until the last child was found, and then, maybe, they could forgive. The message appeared in every sky, every screen, every planet, every moon with a relay station. We have found them all. The last child has been freed. You may rest now. But we will not forget. It was not a threat. It was a memorial. Across the stars, silence fell again. But this time it wasn't fear. It was mourning, because even the most stubborn governments, the cruelest rulers, the most arrogant racist, had seen the last transmission. A broken boy, no older than 7, crawling out of a steel cage as Earth's soldiers held him. His body was thin, too thin. But his eyes were full of something the galaxy hadn't seen before, hope. Behind him, inside that final Union lab, lay hundreds of empty tanks each, one used to force children into nightmare simulations. Some had died inside, but the last one lived. And when he whispered, "Are the stars safe now?" into Commander Voss's arms, the galaxy changed forever. On the day of the funeral, over 6 billion aliens watched the stream. It wasn't held in a war hall. It wasn't on Earth. It was held on Neuraxis 3, a once hostile world that had secretly supported the experiments. Its skies were red with dust, but its people wept openly now in the center of the city. Human-built monuments stood, a tall stone pillar, carved with the names of every child found across the Union's black sites. There were 12,442 names, each one etched in quiet gold. The ceremony was simple. No warships, no military salute, no demands, just voices. One by one, survivors came forward. Some human, some alien, all changed. A girl named Mira, once kept in cryo-freeze, stood trembling before the crowd. She didn't speak. She just looked at the sky and whispered, "Thank you for hearing us." And then, something happened that the galaxy could not explain. Above Neuraxis 3, the stars dimmed. Just for a moment, astronomers said it was solar interference. But deep down, even the scientists knew. The galaxy itself had taken a breath, and for the first time in history, exhaled grief. Far from the cameras, Eli Voss stood alone. No medals, no words. Just watching behind him, Admiral Marek approached, carrying a sealed packet. "They're calling it over," Marek said. "Voss, didn't turn. It's not over. We found them all, Eli." "No," Voss replied quietly. "We only found the children. The ones who ordered it. The ones who erased records. They're still out there. Still in power. Still pretending." Marek lowered his voice. "And Earth will hunt them?" Voss nodded. "Not with weapons. With memory." He turned finally. His eyes were tired, but clear. "From now on, we don't fight to destroy. We fight to remember. Every hidden crime, every erased scream, we bring them into the light." Marek said nothing, because deep down, he knew what Voss meant. Earth had become the galaxy's griefkeeper. The race that once loved too deeply, now remembered for everyone. 2 months. Later, the Galactic Council passed a new law, the Voss Accord it required. Emotional scans of all military facilities. Grief sensor tech installed in all prisons. Permanent human presence on the Union's ethics board. Some protested, but most agreed because none of them wanted to see what Earth looked like when it mourned with purpose. The final scene of the memorial broadcast wasn't a speech. It was a shot of a small child, one of the rescued, running barefoot across grass, laughing, no cage, no wires, just the sun on his face. A voice spoke softly in the background. "Miras, you feared us because we loved too deeply. You feared our grief, but what you didn't see was that grief, when held together, becomes light." In the end, the galaxy did not fear Earth's power. It feared the moment it truly understood what human pain could become when it was ignored. But more than fear, it felt something else, something unfamiliar, powerful, soft, empathy, and that was how humanity changed the stars, not with fire, not with war, but with tears that didn't just fall. They taught others how to feel. The day they saw a human cry was the day the galaxy learned how, and by then, it was already too late to forget.